What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Underdog Podcast. Today, I'll be doing me and Paul's Week 4 combined power rankings. Paul's not here. We could not record last night. I was studying for an exam last night, so it didn't work out for me. So just me again today, hoping that next week we can make that work. Probably no weekly review either this week. I've got another exam tomorrow, so hopefully we can get those out of the way, and then we'll be able to get a more consistent recording schedule. But going in here to the Week 4 power rankings, a lot happened. There's a lot of movement, so let's get right into it. We got 30 new bottom tier team here, moving down 3 spots in the Houston Texans. Look, man, I think this year is just an evaluation of talent for the Houston Texans for their young guys. Evaluate Derek Stingley Jr., evaluate Kenyon Green, evaluate Jalen Petrie, who had a fantastic game in this one. Evaluate Davis Mills. Do you have anything there? Personally, I think they should just, forget the Davis Mills experiment after this year and go get Bryce Young. But we'll see what the Texans do. Moving on to 31, we got the same team there in the Seattle Seahawks. They played Atlanta tough, at home. Similar, tier teams there, but I think that they're another team that's kind of in this rebuild year. They've got Geno at quarterback. They'll be looking for a quarterback next year. I thought DK Metcalf had a very good game when not lined up against A.J. Terrell. Lockett had a good game in this one, and then you saw guys like Penny Hart making a difference and stuff like that. So I think, again, it's evaluate your talent, see what you have. Tariq Woolen, by the way, really good game. And then kind of go from there. Moving up one spot here at number 30 is the Chicago Bears. And listen, man, if it were me, these two would be flopped. But, man, is Chicago awful, bro. They are awful. Moving up 2 spots here, actually. That's incorrect. They were the bottom last week. So, I really think that Justin Fields has to show something, man. And I praised him in week 2 from his heart of trying to, kind of rally that team back into the end zone when he kind of dove out for the pylon. He's got heart, but he just, man, he's struggling as a passer of the football right now. I think there's still has never been a game in his career where he's thrown for double-digit completions, which is absurd. And I know he's not working with a ton of talent, but, he's barely gotten Darnell Mooney involved. He's barely gotten Cole Kmet involved. Those are probably his 2 best receivers. Pringle heads to IR, so you're going to be, that's 3 of your best players that you really haven't gotten involved, and you need to get them more involved. Dave Montgomery looked great, and they won this game because of Khalil Herbert. I mean, Khalil Herbert's great as well, but Justin Fields has got to show something, man, because the 2 interceptions he threw to Jalen Petrie were yikes, man. They were a yikes. So moving on to the Jets here at 29, moving down 1 spot. I think I heard something that Zach Wilson might play this week, so that'll be a big boost for this team. I didn't really like the game plan this week from Robert Saleh. I thought it was really conservative, and especially after last week, getting that really, big win against the Browns, being really aggressive. I thought they'd come out here and they go for it again, playing a good team in the Cincinnati Bengals, and they just were really conservative. Their only points were field goals this week. I still think that this defense still needs a lot of work, even though, Saleh is this bright defensive mind. So we'll see how Robert Saleh is able to kind of galvanize the troops, with Zach Wilson coming back in the near future here. Moving up 2 spots is the Carolina Panthers at 28. I think that this, they have a solid team. I think I talked about it last week where they had one of the, best rosters in the NFL. It's just, can they put it all together? They did this week. They got the win, held the Saints offense in check. J.C. Horn was balling in this game. And I think Baker's starting to get a little bit more comfortable with his offense. Laviska Shenault had a huge play for them that really kind of boosted this team to the victory. So you hope Carolina can build off of this win, saving Matt Rule's job for another week, but we'll see. Moving on to number 27, moving down 4 spots this week is the New York Giants. Listen, man, this offense is wow. It's yikes. Daniel Jones under 200 passing yards. he was very good at extending the play and kind of keeping drives alive. I think that was the best part of the game from Daniel Jones on Monday night. Saquon Barkley was incredible. I think he's starting to come back and be that number 2 overall pick guy again. But losing Sterling Shepard, this offense has already struggled enough. I mean, they're throwing David Sills out there, so it's going to be even more of a struggle for this team. They do have the Bears this week, a weaker opponent, but we'll see, kind of if they can overcome these troubles on offense to pull out a victory. Also, Kayvon Thibodeau made his debut last night. He looked very good. This defense is playing way above their talent level, which is giving this team a chance to win. It's just that offense is so pedestrian. That's probably the right word for it? That, we'll see if that they can win any more games than they do. Move on here to our number 26 team in the Atlanta Falcons, moving up 1 spot. I think that Atlanta showed a lot of nice things. I think Mariota was really good this week. Cordero Patterson really carried that offense. He was phenomenal. Drake London was, okay. And they finally got Kyle Pitts involved, which was huge. I think Atlanta could be a competitive team with that offense because I think that offense can score points. I think they've proven that the last 3 weeks. But you have to get the ball into the hands of your playmakers. So you have to get the ball into the hands of Kyle Pitts, of Cordero Patterson, and Drake London, and then sprinkle it around everybody else in order to win games. And you have to use Mariota's athleticism. And then even though their defense isn't great, I think that can keep them in games and keep them as a competitive team here. So now at our number 25 spot, falling down 11 places, is the Las Vegas Raiders. And I still had them kind of middle of the pack, I think. So, Paul's pretty low on this team. I still think, there's talent there with this team. It's just they haven't been able to execute when it matters most, and that has cost them in these games. It cost them last week in overtime with the Hunter Renfrow fumble. It cost them this week on that 2-point conversion where it went right through Darren Waller's hands. So I think it's all about execution. And for the people calling to fire Josh McDaniels, stop it, please. It's really been more of Derek Carr's inability to make plays than it has been Josh McDaniels' play calling or coaching. In my opinion, Derek Carr's just not been good this season. He's been, back to old check down Carr. He's not trusting his offensive line. And Renfrow out is one of his more reliable weapons. I mean, Mac Hollins came out of nowhere this week and was wide receiver 2 in fantasy over Devontae Adams. What is happening, Raiders? What is happening? And that defense isn't great as well. I mean, they were getting, dominated at the line of scrimmage by a Tennessee offensive line that is incredibly depleted. So then, at our number 24 team, moving down 4 spots, here's the Washington Commanders. I think in my notes for this game, it was Carson Wentz had -2 passing yards through 3 quarters. That's unacceptable, man. And especially for an offense that was at least clicking for, most of game 1 and, the second half of game 2, they just came in and they were flat this game. I mean, they couldn't do anything. And it's kind of deflating to see. Their defense actually played pretty well. I think the game feels much more of a blowout than it actually was. The defense only held them to 24 points. So, we'll see once they get Chase Young back if they can string together some victories here. 23rd team, moving up 5 spots, it's the Tennessee Titans. I think it's kind of been the motto of this team over the last couple of years. You start to count them out. We counted them out. I was counting them out before the season, personally. And, they get a nice win here against the Las Vegas Raiders, and, they're starting to, maybe come on a win streak here, and they could, that AFC South is still wide open. I know Jacksonville looks great. Indianapolis finally got a win, and Houston's kind of the bottom dweller, but still a wide open division in my opinion. So I think that Tennessee definitely could, put together some wins and start competing for that division. Derrick Henry looked really good this week. Kevin Byard was all over the field. They started to feel more in unison this week, I think. Moving on to our number 22 team, falling 7 spots here is the New Orleans Saints. when is it time to go to Andy Dalton? And a lot of people are going to be like, you're crazy, man. Like, Andy Dalton is not as good as Jameis. I understand that, but Jameis's back injury is serious. I think he has 3 cracked vertebrae. And it's like, when do you need to go to more of a game manager, which is what Jameis was last season for this team, where he's kind of turned into old Jameis this year without Sean Payton there and stuff like that, where you need to go to Andy Dalton that's a game manager, keep this offense kind of in check, in structure, and just play as a defensive football team rather than let Jameis go out there and, lose to the Panthers like he did this week. I think that's a serious question for this team. Kamara was, okay coming back from injury. I think that, we really haven't seen elite receiving Kamara in a long time, and he needs to come back, man, because he's such a fun player to watch. The Saints defense was pretty good this week, other than the busted play to Laviska Shenault. They will be back. And then at our number 21 team here, moving down 8 spots, is New England Patriots. And I'm just going to be honest, man. They really impressed me this week. It was not due to their play. It's due to the Mac Jones injury, which I'm going to talk about in a minute here. But I want to talk about how they played against the Ravens. This defense is still very good. Lamar just got loose on a couple big runs. Really helped out this team. But they're 11th against the pass with the highest graded corner in football in Jonathan Jones, who no one is talking about. He played a fantastic game against Rashad Bateman. Had an interception and a forced fumble in this game. He was fantastic. I think that this run defense is still very good. Just Lamar is amazing, and he broke free in some of the games. And their offense was finally clicking, man. I think you look at the box score, and it's like, oh, Mac Jones threw 3 picks. It wasn't a great game. But I genuinely feel Mac Jones had like 5 of his best throws ever in this game, against the Ravens. It's just unfortunate that he, he had the red zone interception to Devontae Parker in the back of the end zone, which I think he was doing a hot route to Devontae Parker, who didn't get the hot route, and then Mac threw it up to where he thought Devontae Parker was going to be, and he wasn't there, so it was a miscommunication. The one to Bynes was stupid. It was just a bad throw, bad read. And then the one at the end of the game, he's trying to make a play. I can forgive him for that one. But the injury's weird, man, because they deemed it a high ankle sprain. They are not disclosing how long the return is, and they're basically just saying right now we'll take it day by day, and they're saying they're not ruling him out at all for week 4 against the Packers. There's kind of a dispute right now. Is Mac doesn't want the surgery. He just wants to kind of let it heal, and the Patriots are prepared to let him get surgery, so Mac was seeking a second opinion. We'll see what happens there, man. It's a weird situation, but the Patriots are falling mainly because of the Mac Jones injury and not because of how they played. Moving up 7 spots here, the victor from Monday night is the Dallas Cowboys. I think that this team is due for some bright days ahead with Dak Prescott coming back. I think that they can, they will be able to win more games with Dak Prescott coming in. But Cooper Rush has played, as expected, pretty well for a backup. CeeDee Lamb had that big drop made up for that insane play. And this defensive line is awesome, man. They were all over the Giants' O-line last night. So better days ahead for Dallas, moving up 7 spots here. At 19, moving up 1 spot for me is the Detroit Lions. I think that this team had a really good first half, really bad second half. They're going to be missing DeAndre Swift for a couple weeks. That's going to be a big blow. It's just, man, I just wonder what this offense would have looked like with Jameson Williams fully healthy. And I did say, and I'm going to keep coming back to this, if he was healthy at the start of the year, they would have been in the playoffs. I think if he was in this game, they would have won. If he was in that game against Philly, I think they would have won. They might be 3-0 right now with Jameson Williams. I'm just saying. I'm not going to take away from Philly or Minnesota, but I'm just saying. We go on to number 18 team. Moving up 1 spot, here's the Denver Broncos. As bad and terrible as that offense is, which they just need to figure that out, man. They need to figure out what works for them and what doesn't. This defense is awesome. And it was actually, I was flipped on why I thought that, this team was going to do lower, was because their defense was going to be the main point of struggle, not their offense. But it's their defense that turns out to be their strength, and their offense is their weakness. So Randy Gregory, Bradley Chubb, great game. That front 4-5 guys is awesome. Their linebackers were flying all over the field. Pat Surtain was making a lot of plays in this game. So This Broncos defense has been the identity since the 2015 team when they won the Super Bowl. It will continue to be their identity and will continue to be the reason why they win games. Here at 16, moving up 5 spots, Indianapolis Colts. Really good win here against the Chiefs. You were 0-1-1, with a tie to Houston, bad loss to Jacksonville. You come back, you get a win here at home against Kansas City. It's a big win. Special teams were a big part of this game. Jelani Woods' season is here. He had 2 touchdowns in this game. Really good. I thought Matt Ryan played a lot better than he did in the last 2 games, at least in the fourth quarter. He was, the Matt Ryan of old, I think, really, was poised and led this team to victory. They got to get Jonathan Taylor going, though. He hasn't been going the last 2 games, so that needs to change for them to have a more successful season here. Moving on to number 16, I have the Cardinals moving up 1 spot. So this team, man, just goes by Kyler Murray. And Kyler had an okay game, wasn't fantastic or anything, but I think that this team really needs, if they can be like 3-3, 2-4 at worst by the time DeAndre Hopkins gets back, they could make a playoff run. But I just think that their defense is really holding them back. It was, again, not great in this game. I felt like Stafford really had all day to throw and was, making all the right reads and stuff. But I think that, this team could be that 7 seed or 6 seed at the, when all is said and done. It's just they really need Kyler Murray to continue to play at a very high level that he has done. Week 1 was, kind of whatever. But week 2, we played at an insanely high level. Week 3 was pretty good. So they need Kyler to continue to play at an elite high level. At 15 here, moving up 1 spot is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And a lot of people are going to be asking why they're so high. Personally, we just think that this team is still very good. They have a really, really good defense still. In, with Highsmith, with Hayward and all those guys that played pretty well on Thursday night, gave this team a chance to win. They weren't able to do that in this game. And I think that they need to make the decision to go to Kenny Pickett. And it's not that Trubisky has been awful. It's also partly why Trubisky hasn't been outstanding is that they haven't really asked him to done much. They've kind of just asked him to be a game manager, which he's done. Because when you give Mitch Trubisky more than what you need him to do, it's not great. I mean, you saw that, well, the final play wasn't really on Trubisky, but you saw some missed reads, some missed throws from Trubisky. So I think you spent a first-round pick on Kenny Pickett. I think it's time to see what they have in him because, in all honesty, you have a Super Bowl window that's closing relatively fast. So you need to see if Pickett is that guy for you or not. And I feel like the sooner they play him, the better for Pittsburgh in this situation. Moving on to 14 here. Went up 10 spots to Cleveland Browns. So I think we were a little bit lower on this team just because of the fact that, they don't have the most prolific receiving core. They don't have, the greatest quarterback in the world in Jacoby Brissett. But they still got a really good defense, although, this ranking could have changed with the Myles Garrett situation that was just unfolded. He was in a single car accident, no alcohol, drugs involved. Seems to be fine, only minor injuries, but I don't know if he's playing this week or not. So I think the Browns are still a good football team. They have a formula to win, and Stefanski's been super impressive in sticking to that formula. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, defense, throw it to Amari Cooper, win football games. I think Amari Cooper, like I talked about last week, been phenomenal. Dallas was stupid to trade him, in my opinion, so we'll see how that works out for both teams. And then moving down 1 spot here, it's the San Francisco 49ers. I still think that they've got one of the best defenses in football. I think they're like number 2 or 3, in yards allowed. So they're going to be in football games. This game, it was failed execution from their offense, and it was turnovers. If they don't turn the ball over, they probably win this game. But they lost 11-10, and, you kind of got to deal with it. I think Jimmy G threw, a really bad interception, 2 really bad interceptions. And then, he fumbled a snap, which is probably, half blame on the center, half blame on Jimmy G. They were facing a really tough defense, tough environment to go on the road to beat Denver, even with even with them struggling. So we'll see kind of what Kyle Shanahan does going back to the drawing board and getting this team ready to, compete. And then moving up 9 spots here, our highest riser, it is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I never thought I would see the day that Jacksonville is pushing the top 10. They had a fantastic win, man. And people are going to ask why they're behind the Chargers. I just think that, they came in here, they were great. They were great against Colts. I still think that the Chargers are a better team than them overall. They're just, really, Herbert was hurt. Joey Bosa left the game. They didn't have J.C. Jackson. So I think if the Chargers can get healthy, like if these guys aren't season-ending injuries or whatever, can get healthy, I think they're the better team. Maybe right now they're, more. These 3 teams here were tied. So we just kind of decided to order it this way. But Trevor Lawrence, people are talking about Tua. People are talking about Jalen Hurts. No one's talking about Trevor Lawrence, man. Trevor Lawrence has been awesome. He's been, arguably, you could say that in general, Trevor Lawrence is pushing for a top 10 quarterback in the league. Not just this season, in general, because he has taken that next step. He is, making the right reads. He's going through his progressions. His pocket presence is really, really good. He's able to, find the open receivers, able to extend plays. He's been really, really good this season. I don't think enough people are talking about that enough. People are talking about Tua. They're talking about Jalen Hurts, and rightfully so, but Trevor Lawrence, man, has been awesome this season. He really has. He's been awesome. Christian Kirk's been awesome this season. Doug Peterson, put my hand up, was wrong about Doug Peterson being the worst head coach in football. I thought he was going to be that because that's what he was when he left Philly, and he has really figured out a formula to, win. And this team's good, man. This team's good. This team could be in the playoffs at the end of the season, and we could be seeing Trevor Lawrence in the playoffs. So keep an eye out on the Jags, man. They're no slouch for a team. 11 here, we have the Minnesota Vikings staying put. I think that this team, Kirk finally got going in the second half. They finally, found a way to win this game. They got to get Justin Jefferson more involved, man. And I think that, part of it's Darius Slay was very good against him. Jeff Okudah was very good against him in these games, but they gotta get him the football more, man. He's a special player. Cooper Kupp never seemed to not be open last year, so Kevin O'Connell's got to work that magic for Jefferson, man. And there's been times that he's been open and Kirk's missed him and stuff like that, but I think in general they just got to get him, maybe just get him some jet touch passes, get him the ball in his hands, get him some jet sweeps early on to get this offense going. Don't know how long Dalvin Cook's going to be out. Madison was good in his place, and this Vikings defense was stout in the second half, so hopefully they can continue to do that. And then we have our 10th team here, moving down 5 spots. It's the Los Angeles Chargers. Injury bugs hitting them, man. Jalen Guyton out for the year. Joey Bosa left with a groin injury. J.C. Jackson didn't play in this game with an ankle injury. Injuries kind of always seem to plague the Chargers, and it's, isn't going to be another one of these seasons where they hit the injury bug hard and they miss out on the playoffs by a game or two. This was a game that they probably should have won. And, that they got to have a bounce back week this week. Herbert is a week removed, over a week removed from that. Hopefully he can get healthy. It'll be 2 weeks removed from that. Hopefully you can get Joey Bosa back. Hopefully you can get J.C. Jackson back and be, continue to build off of what you had, earlier in the season. So moving up 1 spot here is the Cincinnati Bengals at our number 9 team. They got a big test this week against the Dolphins at home. They're bringing out the white uniforms. So we'll see how that goes. But, they finally got back to, their winning ways. Joe Burrow looked really good. Jamar Chase was a little quieter in this game. Tyler Boyd had an awesome game. The offensive line was better this week. than it has been the previous 2 weeks, and that defense was very good. Trey Hendrickson, AFC Defensive Player of the Week. Huge game. But this is a big test against the Dolphins, man. It's a big test. They're favored, I think, by 2.5. So we'll see. It's going to be a big test for both teams. Probably 50-50 on this one of who thinks going to win. Miami's been really hot, but I think the Bengals are determined to get their season back on track, man. So it'll be a really good game. We'll see who comes out with that one on Thursday night. And we move to our number 8 team here. Moving down 2 spots, it is the Los Angeles Rams. Not necessarily because of their performance. They kind of handled the Cardinals. Kind of handled business. Cooper Kupp, really good game. Matt Stafford, I think, had his best game of the season. Was very somewhat game manager-esque, getting the ball to where it needed to be. I think they can build off of this. It's just, I think other teams were more impressive. Their defense was very good, though. They kind of kept Kyler from beating them with his legs and really kept him to be a pocket passer. And, Darion Kendrick had a really nice game. The rookie, Jalen Ramsey, had a really nice game. So defense played very well in this game, especially. I just thought there were other teams that were more impressive. Then we got our number 7 team here, moving up 1 spot in the Baltimore Ravens. For me, they would be about 2-3 spots higher maybe, but they're not. Listen, kind of like we talked about, another guy that I don't think is getting enough love that he should, Lamar Jackson. I think he is probably the MVP frontrunner right now, if not Josh Allen. He's just incredible, man. Another 5-touchdown game against the Patriots. He was the reason they won this game. People say he can't throw, people say he can't whatever. He was making really nice reads, and the only one he didn't was Jonathan Jones was, trailing Bateman, pulled off his man and intercepted the, pass that was intended for Duvernay. But other than that, Lamar Jackson was really good in this game, and he continues to be a phenomenal athlete. They got J.K. Dobbins back this week, which will help improve that run game, give him another dimension to it. Devin Duvernay was awesome in this game again, made a really nice grab in the end zone touchdown against Miles Bryant. Rashad Bateman was a little quieter in this game. Jonathan Jones played him very well. Mark Andrews was Mark Andrews as always. Their offensive line was pretty good. I don't think Lamar got sacked very many times, if at all. And then defense was pretty good. They allowed a lot of yards, but played that bend-don't-break style, got turnovers, won the game. I think Baltimore's a force to be reckoned with and the favorite in the AFC North, in my opinion. And then we move to our number 6 team, who's moving down 2 spots. I had them at number 2, personally, in my power rankings. I think Paul had them at 8, I believe. It's the Green Bay Packers, who played a really good game. And a lot of people are going to say you haven't beat a good team yet. Both those teams were, kind of banged up. Bucs obviously didn't have Mike Evans, who was suspended. They didn't have Godwin, who was hurt. Didn't have Julio. But the Packers also didn't have Jair. But, I think that Green Bay is still a very good team. They got one of the best defenses in football. Rashawn Gary, beast, man. Absolute animal in this game. Coy Walker made some really nice plays. Devondre Campbell as well, really good plays. And then Rodgers was Rodgers, man. They, didn't score in the second half on offensively, but they, did enough. They scored on back-to-back drives, and they, put that game away. So I think that the Packers are still a very good team. They don't have the hardest schedule this year, but, they're still a very good team. Nonetheless, moving up 4 spots, here's the Miami Dolphins. Defensively, got to give them a lot of credit, man. They played really well. There was, they played 19 different players on defense, and every single one of them blitzed at least once except Xavier Howard, which is insane. So they were throwing, blitz galore at the Bills, and albeit, the Bills had 90 plays on offense and didn't win this game because they were gassed from being in that Miami Heat, and that defense was phenomenal. And the Bills should have won that game, and they didn't. But credit to Miami, where credit's due. They had a phenomenal 3rd and 22 pass to Jalen Waddle from Tua. Probably is the only thing that really stood out to me about Tua today. He did also have some nice pocket maneuvering and stuff, but nothing outstanding. Just kind of a regular Tua performance in this game. But Miami, forced to be reckoned with, man. Still a very good team in the AFC, so gotta watch out for them. Then moving down one spot is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think not necessarily because of how they played, because I thought they played a really good game. That defense gave them a chance to win. Brady led a game, winning, tying drive down the end of the field, and they couldn't get the 2-point conversion because they had the delay a game on the 2-point conversion, and then they couldn't get it because it was tipped, and just kind of is what it is. But I think Tom Brady, showed what he has throughout his career is he can work with anybody. He was working with Russell Gage, working with Jalen Darden, who had caught my eye this game for sure. He was working with Rashad Perriman, Scotty Miller. So, I think the Bucs will be fine. Their defense was really good in this game. Outside of those 2 touchdown drives, they were perfect. So, the Bucs are just, they got Mike Evans back this week. Hopefully you get Godwin and Julio back, and, you're against a really good Kansas City Chiefs team on Sunday Night Football. And moving up 3 spots again is Philadelphia. Dominant performance in this one for our number 3 team here. Really good performance defensively. They were all over, Carson Wentz. I think they sacked him like 12 times, which is insane, against a really good O-line in Washington. So that's great. Devontae Smith was awesome in this game. I think he was, he turned into, like Randy Moss on one play, Moss and 2 dudes. So he was really good. A.J. Brown, still really good. Jalen Hurts continues to build on a really solid season. So Philly's definitely a contender in the NFC. One of the best teams. We have them as the best team in the NFC right now. So, are they the best team in the NFC? They're going to have to prove that for sure. But very, very good team nonetheless. Move on to our top 2, staying the same here, Kansas City and Buffalo. So, in terms of Kansas City, they lost this game because of special teams and coaching, in my opinion. I think Andy Reid made some dumb decisions in this game, but they, and it cost them. I thought their defense was pretty good, kept the Colts in check, just couldn't get that stop on that last drive, and Mahomes was pretty good, besides the interception to, I think it was Gilmore to end the game, but he's trying to make a play, and Gilmore made a pretty good play on that ball, so, it is what it is. I think that, hopefully they can get Harrison Butker back because Matt Amendola wasn't good in this game. Probably cost them the game. They cut him this week, so hopefully they can get, their kicker back. And then moving on to the Bills, they just got to get healthy, man. Micah Hyde was a big blow for the season, but they didn't have Jordan Poyer. Dane Jackson didn't play in this game. They still don't have Trey White, so and Benford got hurt as well. I think he fractured his hand, so Teron Johnson was like their only starting corner in the slot in this game. And then they had, other guys on the outside. Oh, they also had Kyer Elam, who's starting. So, but yeah. So they only had 2 guys that were really going to play for them in the secondary, starting. And they just didn't execute when they needed to. I mean, there was a 4th and goal, and McKenzie was wide open, and Josh Allen threw in the grass. And, you saw the reaction from Josh Allen. You saw the reaction from Ken Dorsey. They know they should have won this game. And I think it'll push them, to be better, to, execute, when need be. And they will be able to, bounce back from this and still be a very, very good team. So that is all I have for you today in our Week 4 Power Rankings. Let us know what we got right, what we got wrong. No weekly review, but I think I'll probably do something on the Thursday night game on Friday. No matter, what the result is, if Miami wins or Cincinnati wins, I will, do a kind of breakdown of it or whatever. But, thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate all of you. Have a great day, and peace.